You go for $50 or more in product on LeafyWell.com. Some of the best product. I'll tell you what, I like their honey sticks. I use them in my hot tea at night. I use them in my coffee in the morning. I don't use sugar anymore, no sweet and low, all natural. And it gives me a little punch with that afternoon coffee, and you really want to stay away from sugar and that sweet and low stuff. But I got this hat. This one's mine, all right? I earned this hat. I spent a little bit more than $50, and they sent me a $30 hat, and I love it. I'm going to keep it on and wear it, cover my bald head. One size fits all. If it can fit my balloon head, it can fit anybody's. All right, so go and log on to LeafyWell.com. Go ahead, check it out. It's phenomenal. They'll deliver the stuff, rush it over to you. They got assortment. I like those gummy bears that they have also. I chew on those in the afternoon rather than go out and have a piece of cake or anything. And it gives you a little charge. It's really good. It's healthy. It's CBD. It's perfect. Okay, no sugar added in some of these things. And I don't like to eat sugar at all. And you're going to really enjoy it. LeafyWell.com. Go there now. And without further ado, let's go to the phones. Pot Network, Mr. Bruce Barron. Bruce, how are you, sir?
Good, Mickey. How about yourself? It sounds like you're enjoying yourself. Not all the tourists have left.
I'm having a good time. I mean, let's face it. It's a good time in our lives. I'm glad I'm not up in Washington, and I know how many years you spent up there working with the Nixon White House to open up China. Right now, I'd imagine everybody's scrambling for cover as the IG report comes out today.
Well, I think they're going to be scrambling more for cover as time progresses. I think, what's happening in Washington is, from the White House point of view, is right on target.
It looks that way. And speaking about right on target, I'd say your projections last year, I was looking over Pot Network. We've done about a half a dozen or more shows together. I think we've done about 8. And each time, it seems every time I have you on, there's more sales, more sales, more sales. And right now, you're at record sales.
Well, but more importantly, we're right on target for the forecast. As a matter of fact, we're slightly ahead of the forecast if you take the comparatives of May this year versus May last year. But the important factor is that the revenue forecast of the market penetration is holding to be valid. On the net income side, the important thing is that we're working as hard as we can to preserve cash so that we can use it for marketing, penetration cost, and new product introduction.
I read that with the new product that you came out with, the Diamond CBD, in your first month of operation, you brought in an additional $669,500, and that brings you up 639% from the same time last year. That new product seems to be going and working really well.
Well, that's the key to any growing company. Is you've got to have new product because your distribution channel wants new product in order to create shelf movement. Mm-hmm. That's the critical issue there. More shelf movement, the happier they are, and the more business you get.
And you got the average.
Very important. It's also important for the lesser volume distributors to take note of, because that encourages them to take more of your product and to push more of your product. And that's very important here. But the company's doing well. They've got their heads screwed on the right way as far as marketing is concerned. They are continuing to be the leader in the CBD side, which is very important, versus the cannabis or marijuana side. Two different markets. I prefer CBD.
Yeah, it doesn't contain anything like THC. In fact, there's been studies going on now. The health benefits far exceed any risk. It doesn't have any risk whatsoever. I mean, children take it. It seems to have been leveled out. People who are above 40, it's a tremendous market. Now you've come out with MediPets, which is for pets, believe it or not. And it seems to be really starting to crank up also.
Well, but that's a gigantic market. So what we're doing is that we're continuing to monitor the retail side of the regular product area. Now we've just expanded into a totally new product area, which has a fantastic growth opportunity to it. Net result, drive revenue. That's the critical issue.
Yeah, and especially people in America, they love their pets. I mean, they spend, I think it's a $27.5 billion a year industry just on buying dog bones, collars, and toys, little squeaky toys. And now you walk around and you say, okay, you got Alpo, you got the big dog food companies, but as far as snacks go, to give them the same benefit having CBD oil, why not? It doesn't hurt them at all.
Well, but the other critical issue is that eventually that will provide a alternative exit strategy if management decides they want to go that route. So the critical issue right now is build revenue, capture the market, make sure you solidify that market position, and continuing to put emphasis on growing revenue penetration. That's fantastic.
You know, I haven't asked this question before, but being that you're in a solid position, you look to do between 35 and 40 million, maybe more, in gross sales this year if you stick to, I don't know, what were your revenues in May?
Well, revenues on a comparative basis is we're $10.5 million versus $4 million the year before. Nice growth, 265%, I think, is what the mathematics are there. So, which in turn revalidates the forecast. Forecast is $32 million. It looks like the forecast is on target, and that's what's important to investors because this is a revenue-valued industry, and that's critical.
Now, naturally, the more revenue you do, the operational costs are absorbed, so therefore your net to the bottom line would be substantially higher.
Well, but at the same time, what you're doing is you're using your cash flow to develop new products, new channels of distribution, and also focusing on the weaker side of your distribution, which are those dealers not doing sufficient volume. We want to encourage those to do more volume, and how they do it is coupled with new products. If they can't sell the existing product or having problems with it, the new products will draw the traffic that's necessary to make them, quote, a happy dealer.
Did you ever consider, is the company looking toward building up the pet end of the business and possibly selling it off down the line?
Gigantic.
Would they consider selling it off to like PetSmart or a larger company, something along those lines down the road?
That's a great alternative, but this management has opened up all kinds of exit strategies. It can upgrade its security, which is on the table right now under the microscope. It can also broaden its appeal and increase its distribution channels by various products, which in turn gets more excitement if the company decides to exit on an M&A approach.
Let me ask you something else. This is a question. You know, we had debt issues. They had bought back, I believe, on the $3.2 million, another $1 million worth of debt. I basically paid off their creditor. Any movement on that as far as taking the creditor out completely?
Yes, they're focused on that to have that resolved by year end. So that's on the table. As you know, it's always a let's call it unusual or difficult negotiation when you ask somebody to give back stock in order to correct your capital structure.
Right.
But the management has recognized the problem. It's focusing on the problem, and basically they're determined to get this resolved in the current fiscal year.
Well, that would be big news, I'm sure, for shareholders, because that is somewhat of a hatchet. Although there hasn't been any convertible to this date. I believe there's strike points on it, and it hasn't executed because of the high strike. The strike price hasn't been recognized, and you're still trading around 31, 32 cents on a terrific volume. You're trading anywhere from 3 to 10 million shares a day. That's a pretty healthy stock.
Well, it's what's important to the new shareholders is that allows a liquidity base, and what everybody's interested in. If I buy your stock, what's the probability of being able to exit within a 30-day period of time? This company has met that target. They're focused on that, and the important factor is you can invest and you can get out, and that's what an investor wants to know. And hopefully they get out at a better price because the company is driving results, and that's what's important out there. Is your management focused on performing for the shareholder? The answer at Pot Network is absolutely.
I've seen people enter and re-enter and sell and re-enter. You have a lot of churning. You have a lot of day traders in this stock. It seems they made money. Let's face it. When you first came on the air, you were at about 3-4 cents. We had a meteoric rise, trading upwards of 80 million shares a day. Went up to $1.03, closed at 95 cents. Held between 70 and 90. It seemed forever, and. You got people going and coming in this stock constantly and consistently over and over. I believe a lot of them are following it. It's hard to gauge. I can only go by the people that contact me and ask me certain questions about it. And naturally, I refer those questions to you.
But that's typical, and also it's healthy in a stock to have people get in, get out, and then come back a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time. That's encouraging to management because that's, in reality, endorsement of what they're doing. And in this particular case, they've got their hand on the right throttle, on the right car, and they're in the fast lane to drive revenue. And that's what's critical.
You take a look and you say, okay, we're doing $3 million a month. All right, that's $100. That's $100,000 a day or plus in business. What's the relationship with your suppliers? Not your suppliers, but your retailers. You had about 10,000 locations. Where are we sitting on that now?
Well, they're still driving strong. We're replacing some of the lower ones with more aggressive ones, but the outlets are continuing to grow. But we've also entered into a couple other areas, which is the mobile cart business, which is a very viable alternative here or a supplement to revenue. And the other side of the coin is that online e-commerce sales are growing, and that is important because that generates the higher margin.
Yeah, what were you telling me about that? Yeah, your average ticket versus retail versus online sales. Where are you as far as the relationship with the two of them? You said someplace it was like $60 the average ticket online versus $15 in the retail store.
Well, I'm going to have to beg off that because I don't have the answer, but the next time around, Mickey will get that answer for you.
I'm only referring back to where it was.
The critical point is that as revenue is growing at the retail side, it's growing equally important at the online e-commerce side, and that 25% balance plus. It's between 25 and 30, so it's up a little bit. That's very encouraging.
Now, your location out west, it does all the shipping, it does all the packaging and everything else out there. Have you expanded that location? I know the last time we had spoken, you said they were looking toward adding another 10,000 square feet, basically trying to turn themselves into just a complete one-stop shop. Have they opened that up yet?
I have to defer on that because that hasn't been announced, and that would be insider-type information. So
okay, I got you.
Beg off that temporarily. We can put an announcement out, and then you and I can discuss it freely. Okay,
good. We'll look forward to that maybe the next time. There were a few other questions I had that people are talking. I get a lot of emails, as you can imagine, and a lot of the Pot Network people do email me, and they want to know about the uplisting. We are an audited company here, from what I understand. You had great filings, a great end-of-the-year report, showed, the target was right there, 14-15 million in gross. What about uplisting? What about going to the QX? What do you see in the future here? Because I've gotten a lot of emails on that, Bruce.
Okay, that's on the 2018 agenda. Okay, we've completed the audits. Now we're getting the legal documentation together. So somewhere between now and December 31st, that hopefully will be accomplished. But our documentation is now almost complete.
Okay. And then I believe it's a 30 to 60-day waiting period. Once you're accepted, I guess you have to go through some sort of a comment process in order to go ahead and get uplisted. But you do have the qualifications to go to the QX.
Absolutely, and that's what's encouraging. Okay?
Well, you got less.
But here again, this management's not sitting still. It's trying to build shareholder value. It recognizes the overhang in the shares. It recognizes the need to drive revenue. This is a revenue-based industry as far as value is concerned, and it's constantly pushing out new products, which keeps the dealer enthusiasm on a very positive note. That's the key element. And management is focused. Management sits here and says, listen, last month I did this. I want to do more this month. Proof of the pudding. Last year we did $4 million through May. This year we've done 10.5. What a hell of an accomplishment!
That's a huge gain when you look at it, especially in writing. Shareholder value is the key. Bruce, we're going to go to a break, and then when I get back, I want to talk to you about what you see coming ahead for this next quarter. Okay, so we're going to go to a break, and don't go away. You're on with Bruce Barron. I'm the Mixter here on Beasley Broadcasting. Be back in a minute. Don't just hang loose. We got something good coming up. Attention, doctors, car lots. I don't care what type of business you're in. Let's face it, you all need traffic. And nobody drives traffic, and I'm talking about traffic that brings you dollars, than RP Summit and rpsummit.com. Yep, they're here now in South Florida. They've taken over the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia. Everybody knows who RP Summit is, because RP Summit drives you traffic. Let's face it, if you give me $1 on a Monday, and I give you back $4 on a Wednesday, the only thing you should be thinking about is giving me more dollars. Well, that's what RP Summit does. They are the best in the business at driving real traffic to your website or to your business. Because let's face it, it's all about getting bodies, getting people to find you. What good is having a website if nobody knows where you are? Let's face it. I mean, what are they just going to pull it out of the air? Of course not. Well, RP Summit's been driving people to businesses now for over 20 years and successful. And the fact is, once you hire them, you're never going to fire them. I suggest you look at rpsummit.com or give them a call for a free consultation at 856-424-7222. That's rpsummit.com. They will drive traffic like you've never seen before. And believe me, once you get them, you'll never get rid of them. You'll say, why didn't I do this before? It's simple. You didn't know about them, but now you do, so there's no excuse. Pick up a phone, 856-424-7222. rpsummit.com, the best in the business. Coco Pazzo, for the finest Italian food this side of Italy. Go to Coco Pazzo on East Commercial Boulevard, 2724 East Commercial Boulevard. Happy hour daily, 5 till 7 o'clock. 4 till 7 during the week. Can't beat it. A bar menu second to none. Fried calamari, meatballs, eggplant rollatini, and fresh mozzarella. Chef Carlo will set you up perfectly at Coco Pazzo. 4 stars in the Sun Sentinel. Unprecedented. 4 stars. Voted the best new restaurant in Fort Lauderdale. Coco Pazzo. Stop in, say hello, stiff drinks. Best happy hour in Fort Lauderdale is at Coco Pazzo. The best mozzarella, all made fresh, cooked to order. Music Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights at Coco Pazzo. Come early, the band starts early. Forget about it. The best Italian food around, Coco Pazzo. Reservations 754-265-7116. 12:27 here in Fort Lauderdale. And at Coco Pazzo tonight, Liz Sharp. She starts about 6:30. Happy hour prices. Go ahead, it's right on commercial. Stop in. She's a great jazz singer. She was going to be on the air today, but she had a conflicting, appearance somewhere else. It doesn't matter. If you're going to put me up against wherever she was going, it must have been better. But I'm on with Bruce Barron right now from Pot Network. And we've been discussing just about everything that there is right now going on at Pop Network. Some of the things he can't talk about because of the laws with FINRA. It's got to be a level playing field. They have to put out news first. And I want to bring something up also to people listening. people wanted to know if there's any affiliation between RSHN, which is in the building with Pot Network, or in there, and there is absolutely no relationship. They just happen to be another tenant, I guess, that splits the facility over in Weston. I'd be correct on that, wouldn't I, Bruce?
I think that's correct, Mickey.
Mm-hmm. Let's look ahead. We're at the halfway point in 2018, and by all regards and reports, it has happened just as you said it would. Business continues to grow. Shareholder value continues to go ahead and subsidize, solidify itself. What do you see coming up in this next half a year as far as growth, as far as expanding management, appearing in Vegas? The shows have been very successful. I know they have at least one out there coming up, and I guess you guys are going to attend it. But what do you see, so the shareholders can hear it from you, just where you're going this year?
Well, trade shows are a very critical part of any marketing strategy when it comes to retail products. And this company knows it, and because of that, it participates in as many trade shows as possible. It gets your face out in front of competition. It gets your face out in front of the dealers so that they know your product versus competition. And most importantly, it allows you to tell your own story. So it's been very positive, it's been very helpful, and it's a good focus as far as a professional management objective is. Trade shows at retail are very, very important, and this company's got a lock on those.
The last show you did out in Vegas, you sold your product out in a day and a half, did over $250,000 worth of business at the booth itself. And it's also a great way to pick up, if you had salesmen out going from location to location, here at a trade show, and I found this to be true in some of the shows that I did out there, is that you got people that show up at your booth and they have 15, 20, 30 locations, and you fill out your work order and your order blank right there at the booth.
Absolutely. It's a great way to, and it's an inexpensive way to market, except for the cost of the show itself, but it's still inexpensive. And you get the exposure, which oftentimes you just can't cover with a retail sales force.
You did $28,000 in the first hour just in gummy bears. It got to the point the last day you had no product out at the booth. You were just wiped out. I guess you're going to have to bring it in by the railroad car when you go out to Vegas again.
Well, let me put it this way. If we put you in the booth, Mickey, that's the end. We'll have everybody in the whole place banging down, and we're lucky if we walk away with our shirt.
Yeah, right? Ain't that the truth? Vegas, to me, is like the forbidden fruit. Every time I go out there, I come back in a barrel. And back in the 2000s, when I was covering prize fights and some of the biggest ones, in fact, I'd go out there with my partner, and it was hard for us to even get to the fight. They had to drag us away from the crap tables. I mean, it's so contagious. It's like Disney World for rich people.
Well, but beyond that is, I hope you had a good visitation of the money on the prior trip.
Yeah, I've learned on my old age. Believe me, I went out there once and came back with a wife. I mean, that's total insanity. They say, getting married is insane because you have first you have the engagement ring, then the wedding ring, and then the suffering.
And then you have the kids to support, and on down the laundry list. So what can I tell you?
When are you coming to Fort Lauderdale so I can have you on live besides that same picture we show every time you're on?
Well, I'm out hitting the bushes, as the saying goes, and making sure things work. That's the important thing, is that you can't sit behind a desk, and you've got to be constantly in the field, because that's what tells you what's really going on. And Pot Network has done a insatiable job at that. They're constantly out there, not only in the trade shows, but listening to the dealers. You listen to your dealers, you have a satisfied dealer. You don't listen to them, you got trouble.
Yeah, they are your bread and butter, like you said. 10,000 locations, that's a lot of personalities to juggle, so you want to keep them happy. You want to keep them in product. I know at the beginning, we had run out of product all the time. I had people say, yeah, they're a great company, but they didn't have certain products. They ran out. I don't know if they really knew, or if you actually knew just how valuable or just how busy you were going to get.
Well, the important factor is that it didn't have a negative backlash, and that's what's critical.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody didn't anticipate it, but it happened, and the dealers are still satisfied.
Yeah, you grew pretty quick.
The company quickly reacted to the problem, and it got solved.
You grew pretty fast. That's for darn sure. And you were able to recover and go ahead and pick it up. I mean, you had to hire staff. I remember we said you had to hire 25 more people in the warehouse. You had to bring in more sales team. You had to put more phones in. I mean, it must have been really something when you realized you had a winner.
Well, but the important factor is that's communicated to the retail organization, and they see that, listen, you're trying to help me. That's what a dealer wants to know. I have a concern. Help me and be the first. And that's what differentiates this company from competition. They're very, very reactive to their customer needs. And
all comes down to keeping them happy.
Element.
Yeah, they call that customer service. That seems to be lost today, in a lot of companies where, once they get your money, they don't care if you repeat. And that's why I guess you have a lot of repeat business, because people are used to getting their product in a timely fashion and having their orders filled without having a backlog.
Well, they're not only getting their product, but they're getting the quality that they're buying. That's also important.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And they're rebuying, which means that they've endorsed what you're doing. They like the quality. They like the fact that you're introducing new products, so that you're not sitting still and you're reacting to them versus they having to react to you.
Yeah. Well, again, we'll keep me in the loop. You have all my email addresses, and hopefully we'll bring you on in another month, and we'll go ahead and touch base once again and see how things are going. I haven't gotten a schedule yet to know when the Vegas show is out there, but I put it on my calendar. Whenever it is, I will be out there. I want to see it firsthand, and I want to shake hands with some of the other companies out there too. It should be a very interesting trip, and hopefully you'll be out there, so we'll be able to meet finally, face to face.
Well, as long as you give me a guarantee you're going to take me to that Italian restaurant that makes your mouth drool every time you make a comment on it.
There's a few of them out there. There's Cafe Mortorano, Steve Mortorano. He has a place here in Fort Lauderdale where I'm a regular at, and he has one now in the Paris. And then, of course, we have Rayo's, our good friend Frankie. He's running the show now that his dad passed away. So, there are a couple of great Italian restaurants over here in Fort Lauderdale as well out in Vegas. So I hope to see you soon, Bruce. Again, thank you for coming on the show. Pot Network, keep me informed of any changes, and I'll pass it on to the public. Every time I do a show, I always mention Pot Network anyway. All right, but thanks for coming on, Bruce.
Well, it's always a pleasure, Mick, and it's always a pleasure to update the shareholders and potential shareholders on progress that this company's doing. Yeah,
it seems like a good report. Again, Bruce Barron, thank you, and we'll catch up with you next time. Pot Network, POTN, a terrific company located here in Florida. Bruce is out in L.A., but they're all over the place and up and coming, and they're only a year old or a year and a month. I guess April of last year, 2017, was when they finally kicked the doors open and did their reverse and became a public entity, and it seems they've been running pretty well. We'll keep them informed. There were certain things he couldn't answer, which is understandable because of FINRA guidelines and the SEC, and we certainly don't want to get backed up with them. Coco Pazzo tonight, Liz Sharp. I'll be back right after this. I'm the Mixter. You're here on Super 740 AM. Boca Raton. Coco Pazzo, for the finest Italian food this side of Italy. Go to Coco Pazzo on East Commercial Boulevard, 2724 East Commercial Boulevard. Happy hour daily, 5 till 7 o'clock, 4 till 7 during the week. Can't beat it. A bar menu second to none. Fried calamari, meatballs, eggplant rollatini, and fresh mozzarella. Chef Carlo will set you up perfectly at Coco Pazzo. 4 stars in the Sun Sentinel. Unprecedented. 4 stars. Voted the best new restaurant in Fort Lauderdale, Coco Pazzo. Stop in, say hello, stiff drinks. Best happy hour in Fort Lauderdale is at Coco Pazzo. The best mozzarella, all made fresh, cooked to order. Music Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights at Coco Pazzo. Come early, the band starts early. Forget about it. The best Italian food around, Coco Pazzo. Reservations 754-265-7116. Attention, doctors, car lots. I don't care what type of business you're in. Let's face it, you all need traffic. And nobody drives traffic, and I'm talking about traffic that brings you dollars, than RP Summit and rpsummit.com. Yep, they're here now in South Florida. They've taken over the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia. Everybody knows who RP Summit is, because RP Summit drives you traffic. Let's face it, if you give me $1 on a Monday, and I give you back $4 on a Wednesday, the only thing you should be thinking about is giving me more dollars. Well, that's what RP Summit does. They are the best in the business at driving real traffic to your website or to your business. Because let's face it, it's all about getting bodies, getting people to find you. What good is having a website if nobody knows where you are? Let's face it. I mean, what are they just going to pull it out of the air? Of course not. Well, RP Summit's been driving people to businesses now for over 20 years and successful. And the fact is, once you hire them, you're never going to fire them. I suggest you look at rpsummit.com or give them a call for a free consultation at 856-424-7222. That's rpsummit.com. They will drive traffic like you've never seen before. And believe me, once you get them, you'll never get rid of them. You'll say, why didn't I do this before? It's simple. You didn't know about them, but now you do, so there's no excuse. Pick up a phone, 856-424-7222. rpsummit.com, the best in the business. Just about 20 to 1 here on a Throwback Thursday. I'm the Mick Bazsuly here in our beautiful Boca Raton at Beasley, Super 740 AM, 103.9 FM, and 96.9 FM. We're all over the place and on amp2.tv, streaming live. And what else could you say? I love my Leafy Well hat. You know, it covers my bald head. You just got to look at this company. I got this hat. You know, I never get anything for free. Nothing. I mean, I got to pay for everything right through the nose. This one here, this hat fits all, and they got terrific product. Again, leafywell.com. Try those honey sticks if you like coffee in the morning, or if you like tea in the evening, or maybe coffee. I wonder if it works in vodka and orange juice. You know, I never tried that. I gotta write that down. But I'm addicted to their honey sticks and gummy bears. They give you that kick. And they're also very, very healthy. They have the best CBD oil in the business. Okay, and log on and take a look at their website. It's easy to use, too. I mean, you don't need a pilot's license to go on there. Just log on, leafywell.com. And you know what you can also do? You can put in Mix the 740. All right, and they'll go ahead and they'll throw you probably a discount on that. That's Mix the 740 or 740 AM or whatever it is, 740. Just let them know that you're there. IG report today, ladies and gentlemen. We've waited for this thing for who knows when. Okay, Inspector General Horowitz, he was hired by President Obama. That shows you how far he's been doing it. And they should have it fully released. You'll be able to read it online. And we'll just see just what happens and how everybody skedaddles. I mean, this was the report that recommended McCabe get prosecuted, or at least an investigation into him and a possible indictment. It also throws Comey under the bus. We get to see just where the fix was with Loretta Lynch and the tarmac meeting and all that. And Horowitz is known as a pretty stand-up guy. We don't know what's been redacted. What will happen is they will subpoena the original report before the changes, so Congress will get to see that. I don't know if we'll all get to see that, but whatever was written originally, it's a 500, 600-page release today. Some of it was probably redacted. I mean, let's face it, the DOJ and the FBI both had the original report, and I'm sure they pulled some of it out of there. Okay, so what we're going to see is what the fix was. Who got what and when and why. Did it go all the way back, the timetables? And the timing is important here because they've stumbled over the timetable more than once in different news releases and what they've leaked out to the press. And what they've testified, more importantly, in front of Congress and in front of the Senate subcommittees. The slow walking by Rosenstein. This here, threats by Rosenstein. This is all going to come to a head. And it all comes down to the fact that the Democratic Party lost an election and they refused to accept that. Remember what President Lincoln did say. They called democracy back then, and it still is today, because if you look around the world, how many real democracies are there? Not many. It's the great experiment. And the only way this great experiment works is if the two sides agree to a common, fair election and accept it. Otherwise, you have nothing. You have a dictatorship, or you have a kingdom, or you have any one of things. And we are one of the first, and probably the only country that I can think of where you have complete freedom of speech. The First Amendment was so important, they made it the First Amendment, and that's freedom of speech. You don't have it in Great Britain. You talk out against the government, you'll end up in jail. You have debtors' prisons still over there. So don't look to England and say, wow, you have freedom of speech. You don't have it in Canada. You talk against the government, you can go to jail. Only in the United States do you have that privilege. And the Second Amendment was so important, they made it second, number two. And the reason they did that was to protect number one. So don't you ever think that's the Second Amendment right. Because the countries, the first thing that they did, Nazi Germany, what Stalin did, what Mao Zedong did, was they disarmed the population. And then how are you going to fight? You're going to use sticks and stones because there's nothing you can do. And that is what their goal is, to take away your Second Amendment rights. We'll never give them up. Not in this country. You know, it was Hisaruko Yamamoto, the great Japanese admiral of World War II, said, if we invade America, there'll be a rifle behind every blade of grass. And that was one of the deterrents from invasion. Where he was wrong is there would be two rifles, not one, behind every blade of grass. And you attack the gun, you don't attack the shooter. And sure, there's been tremendous death caused by weapons throughout the world, by guns. But it wasn't the person. When you run somebody over with a car, do you attack the car? You attack the person when you're drunk. Anything else, you attack the person, but only with guns. You never attack the person, you attack the weapon. You can kill just as many people with a truck. We've seen that. By blowing up a train. We've seen that. But they still comes down to it's the gun's fault, not the animal or the crazy that's behind the gun. And I'm all for it. You do have to make it tighter to get guns. Background searches, 3-4 day waits, whatever it takes. You have to harden the schools so we don't have problems like this. They harden the airports. I mean, they frisk old ladies in wheelchairs at the airport. Little kids are wanded with that crazy wand that they use. But they fix the airports. Well, you got to do the same thing with the schools. You have to go ahead, you have to harden the schools. And I don't know if it is arming the teachers. Maybe, maybe not. Not knowing is as good as having them armed, because who's going to come in knowing that some teacher could have a gun and end me right there and then? It seems that the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with the gun. And that's a fact. I mean, you could argue all you want. You could say this, say that, listen to those elites out in Hollywood. And they continually in Hollywood think we care what they think. You know, you look at, Meryl Streep call it Harvey Weinstein, God. What kind of God is he? I mean, he's facing life in prison. The guy was a molester. Look at the list. Louis C.K., gone. Bill Cosby, gone. Kevin Spacey, gone. Harvey Weinstein, gone. Now they throw Morgan Freeman in. And I like him. But the point is, why'd they throw him in? Because he might be a little bit too conservative? Charlie Rose, holier than thou, going up there and interviewing the president during a presidential debates. Gone. Matt Lauer, the golden boy of NBC. He's gone. Chef Mario Batali, the pasta chef. Remember with the shorts and the pink shoes? He's gone. All right, look at John Conyers, congressman, gone. David Copperfield, the magician, he's vanished. Richard Dreyfuss from Jaws, now he's up against it. And, of course, Al Touchy-Feely Franken. He had to resign from the Senate. All liberals, all pontificating in Hollywood. And then you have Robert De Niro, and he's been linked to drugs. He's been linked to many different things. Yet he gets up there, he gets a standing ovation for cursing the President of the United States 2 days before his birthday, while he's off trying to make peace with the Hermit Kingdom and Little Rocket Man. I mean, Hollywood lost their mind. Do they think that they're that valuable that we're going to take the opinions of a guy who didn't even graduate 8th grade? He plays make-believe. And granted, I loved Robert De Niro. I thought he was a great actor. But he's completely lost his mind. And he got a standing ovation by the same people who gave Roman Polanski, a child rapist, a standing ovation. In fact, it was so bad that he disappeared. He lives in Paris, and he hasn't been back to the United States in 40 years, 40-some-odd years, because there's a warrant for his arrest. He disappeared. Same people gave a standing ovation to this guy. All right? You know, you just look at it, and the self-pontification of the people out in Hollywood. Now, Richard Dreyfuss, I can't believe, under the bus. Will we ever see any of these people act again? Are these careers over? Might be. I mean, times, look at Bill Clinton the other night. He says, I can't get away with anything today. Times are different than they were 40 years ago when I was raping people. It's really tough. This guy's out of his mind. Listen to what he says. Has living with Hillary Clinton finally fried his brain? I mean, who would want to live with her anyway? Take a look at her. But the point is, have they kind of lost their mind out in Hollywood? Don't they know it's only going to affect them in the pocketbook because you cannot alienate 50% of your audience? And me talking like this, I might alienate 50% of my audience. But the facts are the facts. You can't change the truth. No matter how many times you try, the truth always remains the truth. And the truth will be found in Washington. Had Hillary won the election, we would have never known about this. Another 8 years, they would have been so entrenched, God knows what would have happened to this country. God knows. They removed God from the classroom. They removed God from the office buildings. They removed God from everywhere. Now they're removing the flag. And they're removing statues in our history. What kills me the most is the statues they're removing were the Democratic statues. They were the Democratic Party in 1861 and the Civil War. They were placed by Democrats, of Democrats, and then removed by Democrats. Makes no sense. You don't see General Robert E. Lee in downtown New York. You don't see a statue of him. You see Grant's tomb. You see Teddy Roosevelt. But you don't see any of that. That's history. To deny history is deny your future. The first thing that they do, any totalitarian government, is they remove history. They did it in Russia. You read a book today in Russia, you're not going to see anything about Khrushchev or Stalin. They'll go to Lenin's tomb, but the rest of these people have been, it's like they never existed. Same thing in Germany. You don't know it, but you don't see it. It's illegal to have a swastika. It's illegal to talk about Hitler. And I can't blame that. But the point is they deny history. It never happened. They deny the Holocaust never happened. I mean, this is what happens when history gets altered. And like it said before, when they were interviewing Hermann Goering, okay, after World War II, in 1946, before he killed himself because he was going to get hung anyway, he said, what's the difference what I say? History is only written by the victors. And it's true. You never hear the other point of view. We went to school, we learned that Columbus discovered America. But there were already Indians here. So I guess the Indians didn't count. How do you discover something? What it was the Europeans found a new land. And don't give me the stuff about indigenous people getting wiped out either. The fact of the matter is the tribes were wiping each other out long before we got here for hunting grounds and property. And then somebody got here who had a cannon or a pistol or a rifle. And then it was their turn. But the fact is, don't think they were without sin. They destroyed each other for generations. And that's a fact also. Maybe you won't see it, but it's in there. You know, you get me started in these politics. And this is why you never talk politics or religion in a bar. I mean, it's the truth of the matter. You can go on indefinitely because there is no right or wrong. It is just today. And that's what it comes down to. You take a president who's given us tax cuts, 3.4 million new jobs, record low unemployment for blacks, Hispanics, and women. Salaries are going up 2.5%. All right, he got rid of that mandate that charged you $2,000 to $4,000 for the privilege of not having insurance. You didn't get fined. He pulled out of a $500 million a year climate accord, which we were the only ones donating to. He killed the Iran deal, which was a mess. $1.5 billion in pallets of cash, $150 billion of their assets just released. He got the $1.5 billion down back from China on the ZTE deal. Plus, he changed that completely around. Goes ahead, denukes North Korea. We're talking with the guy. They hit it off. And when the Democrats are hoping it falls apart, why would you not pull for this? To make a peninsula a lot safer. Makes no sense. 40 new judges. Judge Gorsuch, let's not go that. Clean coal, the industry booming. Steel and aluminum back in business here. And 400 regulations cut with 1,000 more on the way. More new upstarts than ever before in companies. The GDP at 3.3%. We haven't seen that since World War II. 1% was lucky under the following and the past two administrations. You could go on with the veterans bill that's been passed. You don't have to wait 7 months to die. You can go to your private physician, and the government will pick up the tab, and rightfully so. Those people gave too much to go unnoticed. And then you look at all the other things that have been done. We're rebuilding the military. We put the embassy in Jerusalem, promised by 7 administrations, and nobody did it. Only this man. And he got ridiculed by it. I mean, you just lose your mind when you think about it. So before you go bashing the guy, look at the accomplishments that he did in 500 days. And he had 4 terms in the White House. He couldn't have done that. Nobody could have. President Roosevelt didn't do it. And he had 4 terms. It's crazy. I don't like politics, but I do like Leafy Well. LeafyWell.com. Go ahead, get yourself a nice hat like this. Look at this thing over here. Joe, look at that. It looks good. Keeps the sun out of my eyes on a cloudy day. A lot going around. Pick up an edition of this, too, Around Town Magazine. Around Town Magazine is the best. Okay, you want to see your picture in there? You want to go find out who's got the best deals in town? Around Town Magazine, LeafyWell.com. We're going to wrap it up. We had a great time. I want to thank Larry Reed next week with Cleartronic. I want to thank Bruce Barron with Pot Network for coming on the show. Did a great job with me today, as usual, POTN. Joe here behind the glass doing a booger to lose. He's happy. Okay, the people at AMP2 for their broadcasting ability. The wonderful Jody Bybaum for booking the time. Our great friend, Duff Lindsay. Who's better than him, huh? Chief engineer. And, of course, all under the tutelage of Bob Moranci, a dear friend of mine. I've been here 18 years. 18 years over here at Beasley. I love it. I hope to do another 18, but I'll probably be a worm feast and dead. But we'll see what happens. I want to say thank you to everybody. Again, tonight, Coco Pazzo, Liz Sharp. I'll catch up with you next time. Have a great day and be yourself because everybody good's taken. I'm the Mixer. See you later.
Thanks for listening to the Mick Bazzuly Show, brought to you by RP Summit, putting money in businesses' pockets for 20 years. Visit rpsummit.com and tune in again next time for the Mick Bazzuly Show. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and